Some soldiers struggled with their symptoms for years before seeking help. Blair Davis lived for over a decade in silence. A 10-year-old newspaper article would be the start of his healing.
We talked about some of what he saw and experienced over there, so that his family and friends could read the article and get an understanding of, what's he coping with, and how's he dealing with it now that he's back home in his familiar surroundings.
I talked about all the stuff that I experienced, the houses being blown up, the people and stuff like that. When I did the interview coming back, unknowingly, I was talking about my PTSD. I was talking about my experiences.
Usually when you come back from that sort of thing, you're supposed to have a psychological assessment. He didn't. The reporter asked the right questions. They were the types of questions that a normal psychologist would have asked. And so we were lucky we had that, because that was the only way we were able to tie his injury to a service.
As a journalist, you do these articles, never thinking that down the road that it may have played a bigger picture in what he'd gone through. I'm glad that it was helpful.
There is a lot of evidence that the earlier you can begin to talk about it, to process it, the more likely you are to recover from it.
Soldiers cope with PTSD in different ways. For Stu Rogers, it's his service dog. Zeben provides him with daily comfort.
It just takes my stress away, right? He lays on me, he's a comforting friend. Whatever I'm thinking, it gets my attention focused off of that and on him. Before, I was a hermit, right? I wouldn't be doing anything. I'd sit in the house and that's it.
Hey, buddy.
I don't know, the dog might be better for me than the psychologist. And the psychologist is good, but the dog's here every day.
I've been active in trying to heal myself, along with my professional help. I do a lot of backwoods country driving, get out of Dodge, I call it, right? And a lot of hunting, fishing. Whenever I can hit the woods, I try to hit the woods. That's my piece.
For Blair Davis, a trip to a local farm prompted him to Google horses and PTSD. He discovered an organization called Can Praxis and made a phone call.
He said, "Hi, how you doing?" I said, "Good." He's like, "No, how you really doing?" And when he said, "How you really doing?" it's like, wow, this guy gets it. He understands that I'm in pain.
Blair's at a breaking point. You could see it. When he's sitting at the dining room table crying, this is a man that doesn't cry. He is bawling his eyes out saying, I don't know what to do.
And we went out there. The first day we were separated from our spouses. It was just me, 5 other guys with PTSD.
They do wonderfully in groups. They're able to talk to each other candidly.
You can shake a person's hand that has PTSD, and when they look in your eyes and they know you get it, you get a bond right off the bat.
We all had the same symptoms, same feelings. It's like, wow. You guys actually get it. You understand what we went through. It was one of the best things that I ever did for my relationship. It helped bring me and Kim closer. If I give them unconditional love, they'll give me unconditional love back. And they're my therapy. That's why I get up every morning, is to come shovel horse shit. That's why I'm here today, because of them.
I've seen a lot of these men and some women. There's no possibility for them to have the conversation about the untenable situation they were put in and what they were left with. We treat people individually as patients, but there's no room for a conversation, a bigger conversation. What was Bosnia? What were the early days of Bosnia for people? What's the conversation that we need to have? We don't like these conversations in Canada.
It's a conversation that's difficult for anyone, but especially so for those who need to talk about it the most.
I was a bit of a critic myself to those that would say something and it was, and suck it up and soldier on. That's what it was. Everybody has a breaking point somewheres. I didn't think it would ever affect me. Boy, was I wrong. Now, I will not judge anybody. It took me a long time to come out and say it. and I believe we are our own worst enemies.
The culture is shifting. For more and more veterans, they are also their greatest allies.
I think there's always going to be a need for veterans helping veterans and helping one veteran at a time.
There's a whole life after PTSD. It's never going to go away from you. You always have times where you'll sit and cry or sit and shake, but it's not every day. It's not every minute of every day. Don't give up. Keep fighting the good fight. That's number one.
Engage somebody. Make a connection. You won't regret it.
When we were in, we were brothers, right, and sisters. When we get out, we should be no different. We can stand together to get the mission done. And the mission is, don't leave any of us behind.
Even with support, life will never be the same for the Canadians who served in the former Yugoslavia. And the same is true for those who fled the war.
We first visited in 1997. We try to go every second year. When I go, I try to forget bad things, but so much has changed. I used to know lots of people, but now I don't know that many people.
I don't have anything in Sarajevo. I mean, my dad died in Sarajevo and the grave is still there. That's the only thing we have left there. I had desire to go, but I think I was afraid to go. I was afraid to find Sarajevo different than Sarajevo I remember. Going there and being there and realizing it's not the same. I don't know, it's just something unsettling, something I don't want to see.
I loved Yugoslavia. But obviously that will not happen again. It's over. My only home is Canada. That's the only citizenship I have. But I hope all nations there, they just find a way to cooperate. It is better for them.
Almost 2 decades after the war ended, those in the former Yugoslavia still live in the shadow of the war.
Now, infrastructure is crumbling. Roads are only sporadically improved. Rail transport is either dead or almost dead. Healthcare is not good, and there are no jobs. It's far from recovering to the pre-war level. So there is very little hope for young people.
So I hope that one day that unfortunate saga, called former Yugoslavia, will end up. But I'm not seeing the end yet.
20 years after the Dayton Peace Accords ended the war, I think very little progress has been made in terms of reconciliation.
There is deep sadness inside us. All of us, I do believe that all of us, we are part of that madness over there. And we didn't have power to stop it.
I'm actually worried that war can happen again. Because they are the same people with same ideas, waiting for right moment for their final victory and revenge.
I don't think so that ever will be the same again. I don't think so that ever we'll understand each other because we did not solve all these problems. All these republics, now independent countries, are they happier? No. At all.